The Pittsburgh Steelers entering 2024 have the worst quarterback situation of any team in the league. I want to highlight that by reading you this report from Jerry Dulac, who does a great job of covering the Steelers for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. I want you, after hearing this report, to then try to think of a team that is in a worse quarterback situation right now entering next season than the one the Steelers are in. This is a two-pronged report. Part number one from Jerry says this: there is internal division within the Steelers where some folks believe, ready? Mason Rudolph should be the starting quarterback for the Steelers next year. So already going to next year, there is a divide, infighting. We don't know who, but infighting, where some want Kenny Pickett to start, others want Mason Rudolph to start. That is bleak as is. That gives Steeler fans a reason to drink right then and there. But hold on, there's more. It's not just the fact that the Steelers right now are fighting internally and can't decide if Pickett or Rudolph is the better guy to lead this team going forward. You ready for this second part of the report from Jerry Dulac? I'm going to read it to you verbatim from Jerry's article. Quote, the Steelers are not interested in bringing in a quarterback who wants to be a starter. That would include Justin Fields, Kirk Cousins, and probably even Russell Wilson, who has a connection with the Steelers. They are committed to giving Pickett a third season to see if he is the guy to do more than just win a playoff game. Do you believe me now? If you doubted me 2 minutes ago when I told you the Steelers heading into next season specifically have by far the worst quarterback situation in the league, do you believe me now? Not only are we talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers having the worst quarterback in the division, no matter who they pick, Rudolph doesn't matter, Pickett doesn't matter. They are easily the worst quarterback in the AFC North. You are now also saying, upgrades, we're good. 3 obvious, clear, and cheap upgrades. Kirk, Fields, Russ, whether it's draft capital, whether it's salary, you are getting any of those 3 guys on the cheap. So it's a cheap upgrade, easily, over what you got. And the Steelers are like, we're good. I don't know how you disagree. I don't know how you find right now a team that is in a worse QB spot than what the Steelers are in. This is unbelievable. They are truly sitting here and telling you, we're going to run it back with Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph to see what we got in 2024. We want to try to push Kenny along to see if he can show us he is the guy, that he can one day go toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson. What are we talking about? Like, I'm recording this. It's Monday night, February 19th. Last video, I put the date in there. I got it wrong. Double-checked the 19th. It is February 19th, late Monday night. I can already guarantee you, next season the Steelers are not a threat to win the Super Bowl, and they're not going to make the playoffs. If we are sitting here talking about, well, we're going to give Kenny the time, or we're going to give Mason the time to see if they can show us they can maybe one day be the guy that we can believe in to win us more than just a playoff game so they can go toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes, that battle's already over. You already know that answer. The answer is no. Pickett stinks. Rudolph stinks. Neither are the answer for the Steelers. So already, the 2024 season for the Pittsburgh Steelers, we can declare over just based on this report alone. It's over. You can't sell me that Pickett, Rudolph leading this team next year is a threat. Could they sneak into the playoffs the way they just did this past year? Probably. That's what Mike Tomlin does best. But are they winning a playoff game? Are they putting any sort of scare into any of the other AFC playoff teams? The Steelers are one of those teams where then you're going to start positioning yourself to, we want to play the Steelers in the first round. That's an easy win. That's what the Steelers are. They are the punching bag for every other playoff team in the AFC. So congratulations. That's your ceiling. squeaking on in, saying you made the playoffs, and then quickly getting bounced. Whether it's Rudolph, whether it's Pickett, does not matter. So 2024 is already gone. Cross it off. The season's already over. So now you're looking at, if you're a Steelers fan, the earliest you can have hope, the earliest you could be somewhat competitive if you find a new quarterback is 2025. That is depressing. But here's truly why, because it is just one season. You could argue that, teams have been in quarterback hell for years. I mean, look at the Browns, for example, right? They've never gotten it right so far up to this point at QB. But here is why, if you're the Steelers, this is the most depressing quarterback situation in all of the league entering next year. I think as fans, when it comes to the quarterback position, we want one of two things. We want either having the guy, and that's tough, but right, you want the guy, or you want to have hope that you can be able to find the guy. And right now, when you look at the Steelers, they don't check either box. They're 0 for 2, and they're the only team in the league that you could say is 0 for 2, whether it's not having the guy and not having any hope to find the guy. Obviously, they don't have Mahomes. They don't have Burrow. But look at teams right now that have more hope than the Steelers entering next year. Look at a team like the Carolina Panthers, who hired Dave Canales as your head coach, who got the most and had, Baker Mayfield put in a career year in Tampa Bay for the most part, revived his career, got them to the playoffs, won a playoff game. If you're a Panthers fan, you got to feel pretty good about the guy coming in and what he just did with Geno Smith 2 years ago in Seattle and what he just did with Baker Mayfield in Tampa last year, that he can have a similar effect on Bryce Young, and you can now start to see signs of Bryce Young starting to pan out to be the number one guy in Carolina like you drafted him to be. You can look at the Commanders picking second overall, whether it's going to be Drake May, whether it's going to be Michael Penix Jr., whether it's going to be Jaden Daniels. There's hope that that guy in Washington with some decent skill talent around him can hit and be the guy. Same thing in New England right now, picking at 3. Maybe it is Drake May. You hope that you can hit in the draft and find the next young up-and-coming quarterback in an AFC filled with young and up-and-coming quarterbacks. So some of the worst teams right now, last year, Panthers, Commanders, Patriots, all have a reason for hope. Falcons, same thing. And they don't have a quarterback right now, but they have a pretty attractive team offensively. Running back, receiver, tight end, the division itself being wide open. Like, they're an attractive spot to where if you are a Kirk or a Justin Fields or a Russell Wilson, you are angling and wanting to go to a team like Atlanta. So right now, present day, the Falcons don't have the guy, but there is hope if you're an Atlanta fan that you could find a guy to get you to the playoffs and win a playoff game and win the division based on what you have currently right now around the quarterback on offense. There is hope for every team in the NFL at QB except for the Steelers, because they want to have competition between Pickett and Rudolph. Right now, there's no consensus on who is the better guy. That is frightening, first and foremost. But it's also like the fact that they are just going to ignore obvious and easy upgrades. Kirk Cousins said he would take a discount. He's not going to sign with the team for the most money. He's open to taking less, but finding the right situation. I could argue Pittsburgh right now for him is a pretty damn good situation. You could get Kirk as a free agent to a lesser contract than maybe he could get if he was just chasing the most money possible. We're good. Fields, way more upside than Pickett, way more upside than Rudolph. We're good. What are we doing? Even Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson has 50 times more skill than Kenny Pickett, and I think would be way more effective in this offense. So if you're the Steelers, if you're a Steelers fan, I have no idea how you have any hope going to next year. I have no idea how you can get excited for next season right now when you look at what your future is at quarterback and you look at your team just flat out rejecting easy and obvious upgrades. Where's the hope? I mean, this is a team that you have right now an elite defense that is just totally being squandered with TJ Watt in the prime of his career because offensively you can't figure it out. You couldn't find a decent quarterback to save your life if it punched you right in the face. And you got some young, talented weapons on that offense. It is just about finding the quarterback. And this team refuses to do so. I would argue they should have fired Mike Tomlin. This is a guy that I think, at least, doesn't get the most out of his team each and every year. The Steelers are the definition of average. And with that said, especially when you factor in the quarterback, they are way closer to the bottom of the league than they are the top. I know they made the playoffs last year. They're nowhere near the Chiefs. They're nowhere near the 49ers. They're nowhere even near the Ravens. This team is way closer to the Panthers and the Commanders than they are right now the Chiefs and the 49ers. So I don't know how you have optimism. I don't know how you find right now a team in a worse spot than the Pittsburgh Steelers going to next season. You don't have the guy at quarterback, and there is no hope for you to find the guy this offseason at quarterback. No other team is 0 for 2 in those two categories outside of Pittsburgh. It's why the Steelers going into next year, into 2024, by far, the worst quarterback situation in all of the NFL. If you disagree, tell me why below. Comment below if you're watching this on YouTube. I would love to hear your comments. If you want to tweet me on social media, I'm there as well, going back and forth with you at Ryan_Hickey and then number 3. If you are watching on YouTube, appreciate you. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and check it out. If you're listening, make sure that you are listening at the Hick at Night podcast feed, night spelled N-I-T-E. Make sure you subscribe there as well. Uploads like this during the week. Also uploads of the shows I host every Sunday night, but also filling in during the week as well will be uploaded to that channel. For example, this week upcoming, filling in for JR on CBS Sports Radio Thursday and Friday, 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern. So now's the perfect time. Subscribe on YouTube. Subscribe to the Hick at Night podcast, as a lot of content is coming your way later on in the week as well. But tell me if you disagree. If you don't think the Steelers are the team that's in the worst spot quarterback-wise going to next year, tell me then which team and tell me why.